Welcome to Ashes and Roses, the podcast.
A millennial review of entrepreneurship.
We're your hosts. I'm Junie.
And I'm Ashley. We'll be sharing with you an honest review of our trials and triumphs in business.
The Ashes and the Roses.
On season 2, we'll be inviting other entrepreneurs to share their journey as well.
Join us every Wednesday on Apple, Spotify, and Google Podcasts.
And as always, we'll be keeping it real,
raw, and revolutionary. All right, welcome back to another episode of Ashes and Roses. I'm Junie.
And I'm Ashley.
And we have a special guest with us today. But before we get into that, we got to do a whole little introduction. But yes, it's season 2 and we're still challenging the industry.
Yes, we are.
We've had a lot of really great industries and a lot of really great guest hosts so far. And today it's exciting. It's we're challenging an industry that is like up and coming and has been up and coming since I feel like forever.
I want to say in the last 10 years, it's been like, it's boomed.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
Industry.
Definitely.
So without further ado, let me go ahead and just introduce our guest host for today. So today, our guest host is a college dropout that turned into a mobile architect. He's like, you sent me this bio. He's like, wow, you go start there. He has 7 years of professional software development experience. His applications that he's created in the past have 2 million active users. He is now very passionate about helping others who look just like him in the Black and Brown community. He's passionate about teaching them how to find themselves in this industry, in this space, without necessarily having to have a college degree, which I can't wait to talk about.
Yes.
So yes, welcome to our show, our podcast, Henry Saint-Juste.
All right, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, we're happy to have you.
Yeah, we're happy to have you, and we're happy to have you here to talk about this topic specifically, especially with technology on the rise. And I know for me, I don't know a lot about the tech industry, so I'm like really looking forward to learning a little bit more. Okay. And then really just understanding. I don't really understand the ins and outs, so I'm looking really forward to this conversation.
Yep, same here. Yes. So you watch the show, or you watch or you listen to our podcast. You're a listener. Yes. Since the beginning, I want to say, like since season 1.
Yeah, I've been a supporter.
Yay.
Of you guys. So.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yay.
So you know that we start with the thought of the day. Yeah. So I'm actually going to start and share my thought of the day first. Well, actually, no, Junie. Junie, what is your thought of the day?
My thought of the day, and I feel like all of my thoughts of the day have been on the same kind of wavelength lately, but hey, this is what I think about. So my thought of the day today specifically is how interesting how we're all connected to everyone, right? So everybody in our bloodline, our ancestors. I think today I realized that like our ancestors, it's not like we're meeting, it's like I think death and birth is like like when you go to a family reunion and you're seeing people you haven't seen before, or you're saying goodbye to people you haven't seen before. I feel like those times of transition, I think if like that veil, the veil that we're under, I think we would realize that like it's like I'm leaving this group of ancestors to live this human life on earth, and then when I leave this human life on earth, I'm joining this group of ancestors.
So you think it's like a family reunion on the other side?
Yes.
Okay, because you almost lost me for a second.
Did I?
Okay, right, exactly. I was like, okay. So you're saying that on the other side of death is like a family reunion to where you can find your ancestors, great grandmothers, grandfathers, things like that. So that's what's been on your mind.
That's
lately.
what it was today.
That's interesting.
And I think at birth, it's like your ancestors, or they kind of like send you off. Like, like a parent sending their kid off to college, like, okay, go and live this life now.
I see.
So
you're saying before life and afterlife.
Yes.
Is like a family reunion.
Yes.
Okay. That's a really interesting perspective.
Yeah.
That is really interesting.
So that's it's interesting because I think you grew up in church.
Yeah.
Okay. So we all grew up in church here, right?
I didn't grow up in church, but yeah, I guess for the conversation's sake, yes.
Okay. So, with that thought, just your idea of the prior to life, after life, is that like something that the church agrees with, or would you say?
I think it depends on what church you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because like the beginning of my life, I started in the Catholic Church, and like, you know, the saints, what are they? They're spirits, they're ancestors, they're people
so
who
technically,
were here before us and died. So technically, you know, I think when we're talking about like the like Seventh-day Adventist religion, and you know, they have they talk about death being like kind of like the end, like, you know, like when people die, we don't talk about it, we don't make too big of it, like they're dead, let them rest. You know,
like they're considered sleeping.
Yeah. So I feel that the reason why you don't really want to know, what was your question? I want to make sure I'm answering your question. So I feel that it's not that I don't feel like Christianity teaches that, because Christianity in its origin, I feel, was created
Here
to...
she goes.
Created to do what? I want to hear this.
You asked me this question.
It's just in the thought of the day. It always has to go here.
No, I do feel like, you know, there are some levels of Christianity that was really made or put as a barrier to us really knowing our true inner spiritual selves, and really knowing who, because I mean, like the Bible even says that God is within me, right? So everywhere I go, God is here. So I think in knowing, I think that like Christianity kind of puts an emphasis on following doctrine and following teachings of prophets or whatever, versus kind of like journeying within and meeting God within. So I think because of that, you know, when we're talking about ancestors and stuff like that, that's a form of meeting yourself, because it's a you. I'm a version of my mother. You get what I mean? And my child is going to be a version of me and things like that. So I would have to go within to even be able to have that conversation with my ancestors. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I think I would agree and disagree at the same time.
Yeah. Make sure you're speaking into the mic.
Is that close enough? Go ahead.
Yeah, we can bring it
Okay.
longer.
So I think I would agree and disagree, just because...
Not that one. The one on top. Nope. This little... Yes. Nope.
It's not budging.
I'm just trying to tighten it.
Oh, okay.
You're good right here. I'm just trying to keep it.
Yeah. I think it's good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I would have to agree and disagree.
Yeah.
And disagree because I feel like nowadays, like, yes, it is more about doctrine. But some preachers that I've listened to in the past, or have encounter with in the past, they didn't even have like they didn't finish their schooling. So like from elementary to like middle school. I know this one pastor, I forget his name, but he's from the Dominican Republic, and he did not go to school at all. So he wasn't really tied into any doctrine. He just said like he would dream, and in his dreams he would have this individual who we called, you know, God or Christ, that came to teach him the Bible, and he didn't even have a Bible, and then he became a pastor, and you know, with no education. So you know, like it can be with you know, going to school, you know, World Harvest or whichever place they want to go to school to learn these doctrines. But it can also be your experience with God as well. So.
Right, but that doesn't have to be a Christian thing. You get what I'm saying?
It doesn't, yeah.
I think I was just answering to her question specifically as far as like what if the church's teachings would agree with what I was saying, right?
With like talking to your ancestors. And, okay.
Yeah, I wasn't saying that like people who
I mean, does that sound scary? Like, I feel like that's how I remember being in church. The stuff like that would sound like, what do you mean you're talking to your ancestors? Like,
yeah, because it's so
like,
demonized. Yeah. Which ancestors? Where?
Right.
But
Exactly.
even in movies, right? They show that it's bad to talk to your ancestors. So I don't know.
Why
where
is that
thought came
though?
from. I don't know.
And it's very interesting because, like, I feel like, you know, in this conversation of ancestry, I'm thinking like, oh, you know, it's hard for us to find our family tree, even through this whole, you know, our history of being taken from somewhere and being moved. And So it's so hard for us to really find who all of our ancestors are. I mean, it's possible, but it's still even like it could get lost somewhere around there. So there has to be power in that.
Of course.
And that's the reason why.
Yeah, of course there's power in that. Come on, guys. We're all Haitians here sitting on this couch. And there is power in I'm not going to say that word, but there is power in tapping into the forces that came before us. If we look at our history as a people and the way that our people were able to overcome certain life situations and overthrow, their their slave masters and things like that, they were definitely tapping into a source that was greater than themselves. You know what I mean? But I didn't mean to take it this far with my thought of the day. Like I just
I guess I'm not gonna comment because I don't want to go too far with this.
Yeah.
Go any
I will
further
go
in.
as far as you already. I have no stopping point.
Okay, well, I'll share my thought of the day. So I've been thinking a lot about how a lot of our, I want to say our family, Haitians, people who are not from here are talking about moving back to their country, and they're like serious, like really making plans now. Okay. And so that's just kind of been on my mind lately because I'm just like, wow, like what if we do have to like get up and go? Would I get up and go? What would my plan be? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this year when we go see our families for the holidays and stuff like that, for those people who are going to, I feel like that's a question I'm gonna ask. Like, what's the plan, guys? Like, if something does go down, what is the plan?
Where do we evacuate? Where are we?
Right.
Yeah.
So this, the major reason for this move is because of the vaccines. Like, people are really afraid that they're gonna start forcing the vaccines on people. So that's just kind of been something that's on my mind lately because I'm really not interested in getting it. So if it's like something, I can't see them really mandating it. I feel like that would be against the law.
Not right off the bat. I don't feel like right off the bat they're going to make it mandatory. I think it could be a slow progression into being mandatory, but just to come out, like, isn't that like against some rights?
Well, I mean, I feel like, as you can see, when we're in a state of emergency, all of our rights go out the window.
True.
I mean, all of our rights have been violated. I mean, we have had several rights violated in the process of like dealing with coronavirus. So forcing businesses to shut down. I mean, that's literally like forcing people not to make money to feed their families. Like, that definitely has to be a right that's being violated, right?
Yeah.
A personal right. Yeah.
Telling someone you can't work.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it is a right that's being violated.
So you're talking about small businesses who are shut down just because in the beginning of this whole COVID-19 thing, right? With social distancing and okay.
Not just small businesses. I mean, even bigger businesses too, like having to close earlier. I mean, these business models are based off of, hey, if we're open from this time to this time, when you shorten my time, then now I have less time to make money in this day. And the business model might be destroyed. It doesn't matter really how big you are.
Yeah.
See, I guess I look at it this way, right? So we didn't really know a lot about the virus. So the way they handled it wasn't really professional in a professional manner. But things like that stretches us to become more and to grow more, right? So you got these small businesses or other businesses who are thinking of ways to innovate their industry or their market now, just because of this virus. So where you can have obstacles, now you have opportunities as well.
I agree. I definitely think there are opportunities, a lot of opportunities that have come through this. I mean, I'm glad that there's a work from home movement happening. Okay. It's like, wow, a prayer was answered, like, what? That's ideal to me.
So how do you do work from home, being in the medical?
Being a nurse?
Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of people in the medical field now working from home because they have this telehealth situation happening where they can just video call and do it that way. I'm actually not doing that. I'm really not working from home. I'm not working in the hospitals anymore.
Okay.
But I've been doing like part-time teaching, so that can be done virtually. But I've been going into the class to do those as well. So
Gotcha.
I don't get to work from home, but because it's a movement, I know that if I ever do want to look for a position like that, it's there and it's available.
Yeah, and I think in the next 10 to 15 years, everybody will be working from home.
It makes more sense. It actually makes more sense. You don't have to pay for office space.
Yeah.
I mean, these huge buildings are, just have cubicles in them. People could just be at home
taking
working
up
instead.
space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I read an article. I think it was either Twitter or Facebook or Google, like one of the big tech companies. They're looking for that being a permanent thing now. So their engineers are going to work from home. So.
Wow. Well, good for them.
Right.
Because I have a question about this engineering. So good for them. So what about you? What is your thought of the day, Burson? What do you want to share with us?
So mine's actually a thought of the week. I've been pondering on this since I think it was Monday. I was scrolling down Instagram, and you don't really find anything interesting on Instagram anymore, but I saw
Unless you
Eric Thomas.
follow Ashes and Roses.
Yes. So scrolling down Instagram, and I landed on Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher,
him,
right?
yeah.
And he had a picture, and the picture said, "Be phenomenal or be forgotten," and that's just been with me like throughout the whole week.
That's like one of his he has all these phrases from a long time ago, and he's just been running with them. He's just been going with them. But yeah, be phenomenal or be forgotten. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of been running through your mind.
Yeah.
I think E.T. was one of the first people who really, I think I saw take, this motivational speaking and, turn it into, a brand, at least from when I was paying attention.
Yeah.
I think he's been the one who can do this at this level. I don't think no one
I
else.
saw him in the beginning. With his Mondays, his motivate. What was it? Thank God it's Monday.
Yeah.
He started off with that, and I remember the poor video quality in that. And but he just kept on building, and I've actually met him in person. I have a picture with him.
Talk in person.
Yeah, he's cool. The you have to want it as bad as you want to breathe. Is his other.
That's the one that caught me, right?
Yeah.
That's the one that I gravitated towards E.T. When I heard that. So.
Yeah.
He's definitely
that is
get up and get to work.
Yeah.
Type. Yeah.
And it's so funny because men love that kind of stuff. Want it as bad as you want to breathe. Don't sleep. Don't I love that kind of motivation. And meanwhile, we're balance, women.
Know.
But E.T., I actually always liked him. I used to wake up to his because he'll judge you for not waking up to get your stuff done. But he's right though. I think that in everything that you do, you pretty much have to really want it. People, every time I see people sign up for something that they don't really want to do, you're not going to complete it because you don't really want it. You have to consume yourself, make yourself become that thing. And I learned that when I went through nursing school, and I don't know if I really wanted to be a nurse. It was something that was put in my head as a young child.
By your parents?
By my parents, of course. I mean, we Haitian. We know you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So it was something that was put in my head. So I think I kind of just grew up with I just knew that that's what I was going to do. But when I was in nursing school, I was having trouble, it wasn't easy for me to grasp the information and stuff like that. So what I started to do was I started to dive into everything nursing. So everything I watched had to do with, the medical field. So I was watching nursing, health reality shows, and I made friends that were in the nursing world. I just participated. You have to dive in
that world.
Yeah. And then you have to be around people who want that same thing. That's the way you get the solutions.
So
where
you want to go.
Yeah, that's how you get to where you want to go. Yeah,
I agree. You said something about did you say with E.T.? But I read this book, Think and Grow Rich.
Yes.
And it says you have to have a magnificent obsession, a burning desire with whatever you want to do. You just have to have that burning desire that you want to accomplish this, and that's how it's going to happen. So.
Yeah. It's tough though because it's So jobs, when they employ you, they want you to do that for the job that they employ you to do.
Yes.
Yeah. And I found as an entrepreneur, that is hard. I think in my most recent job is when I really like had to realize like, okay, if I'm working for someone else, it's going to be in, I'm taking away from my business. You know what I mean? Because the way that you have to really, in order to be good at something, in order to have like positive results and like consistent results and always grow and progress, you do have to become passionate about it. You have to be passionate about it. So, and I think that's really what pushed me towards like, you know, I don't see myself, I can't get as passionate enough for somebody else's thing.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's not meant, I don't think it's meant for everyone to be as passionate for someone else's, you know what I mean? Like, just like, it's not meant for everybody to be an entrepreneur. It's not meant for us to do you work for someone? What do you do for
I
work?
do.
Okay.
So I work
Well, you don't have to say where you work.
Okay.
But
so I work for a major consultant company.
Okay.
Out in Chicago. So I'm a remote employee.
Okay. So it's not like contracted. It's
no. So I'm with them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So do you find that too? Do you find like sometimes it's hard to put time into your craft, into your business because you're working for someone else?
Yeah. So when I used to go into an office, it was hard. Like it was really hard, just because I would be out 9 to 5, just working, and then when I come back, like it's hard on your mind, right? To get yourself motivated to work on your own thing now, because you've been given all your energy into this other thing, this other baby that's not yours. Right. Now you have to actually work on your baby, right?
Yeah.
It's not going well.
And you just tired. You get home and you tired. Okay,
and
the
it's
baby
okay.
is neglected.
For some people, you have to do it that way though, and I think what happens is you have to be okay with getting results like slower results. That makes sense, because if you spent 9 to 5 on your business, then you would get there a little bit faster,
a little quicker.
Yeah. So as long as you're okay with getting there, you know, or considering getting there, you know, taking it longer for you to get to your destination.
Unless you're one of those people who don't sleep,
which is not working. Which is not a good idea.
Which I feel like you're one of those people who don't sleep, because I feel like you're always working on something. He's like Dexter. You know how like Dexter is always in the lab,
right? Laboratory. I know. That sounds like.
Yeah.
You feel like that's a good comparison?
I think it is.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Now it's easier just because, you know, working from home. When I get bored, or when I hit a roadblock, with some sort of code or something, or some sort of engineering problem, I take a break. And when I take a break, I either read something, an article, or I go back to something I was working on for myself. And then once while I'm doing it, then I'm like, oh, that's exactly what I need to do to fix this problem. And I go back to what I was doing. So just taking mental breaks here and there helped me, you know, to focus on my stuff as well.
Okay, cool. Okay, well, speaking of your stuff,
yes,
let's get into your segment
of this conversation.
Yes, let's do that. So let's get into your segment, but we have to pick a sound effect for you.
Okay, all right.
So you can pick a color.
For Gabby.
We don't even remember.
I don't even remember. Yeah.
There's applause and like.
Okay.
After.
Is that the one you wanted?
No. Let me hear what do you got?
You just want me to pick a random one?
Yeah, and I'll agree or disagree to it.
That's not how it works. You get the sound and it's your sound.
Yeah,
exactly.
Which
one's Junie's?
No, you can't have.
You want Junie's?
Sound. No,
I don't want it. But which one's hers? That one's right here.
This one.
Which one's yours?
Mine? It's not on here.
Oh, so how do you do it?
It's on. It's like on. It's on another page. It's like over here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right. So let me try this one.
Which one?
Right there.
That one. Okay. Let's see. Ooh, it's not a good one.
Oh, let's see.
You picked it.
Oh, sorry, dude.
Oh no, that's a You guys watch like The Price is Right when you get a song?
Yes.
That's hilarious. Well, what a great introduction into your guest segment.
Yes. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So Henry, this is the moment where you can tell us and tell our audience what who is Henry? What do you do? What projects do you have going on? Where people can find you online?
Okay. So my name is Henry Saint-Juste. I was born in Haiti, raised in Columbus, Ohio. I grew up in the U.S. and I went to school locally here at Horizon Science Academy. So while I was in school, I was like working with computers, and I wrote my first game using Flash when I was, I think it was a sophomore in high school. And I fell in love with computer science and engineering. But then I went to school. I went to DeVry University, and I went for electrical engineering. And it was horrible. The worst decision I've ever made in my life. But while I was there, I fell in love with programming again because I took a class, Visual Basic, and it changed everything for me. I met some friends, like you were saying, like connect with like-minded people. I started going to meetups about engineering, and then I started going to the library. I got some books on iOS development, and I wanted to create my first game, and I did, and I launched it in the App Store. And I guess the rest is history, just because since that day, like after I launched it in the App Store, it was popular. People was downloading it. I got a job that way. I went to an interview, and I printed out my code. Right.
Wow.
Oh wow.
I printed out my code, and I went to the interview, and I gave it to him like, hey, I don't have a degree yet. I'm still going to school, but I wrote this game. Here it is, and I can explain everything line by line.
Wow.
And they went with me like the first couple of pages, and they were like, yeah, like you're hired, like we want you.
Wow.
Yes.
And then 3 months later, I dropped out of school.
Yes.
Yep.
That sounds like what I would have done.
So you dropped out of school because you got a job?
Yeah, in software engineering. Yeah.
Okay, so you were like, what's the point of this degree then?
Yeah. And, but then like, if we could go back, my mom has always been telling me, go to school, become a doctor, a lawyer, or engineer. And I always told her, I always pushed back. I'm like, well, look, there's Mark Zuckerberg, there's Steve Jobs. What makes me different, Mom? Like they put their pants the same way I do. I can do that too. I told her I'm going to drop out, but I was playing with her at the time. But then it actually became my reality. I dropped out.
Hey, what you say out loud?
Right.
Those words.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, that's exciting.
So what was her reaction?
Of course she wasn't happy, but like it is what it is. Like once you make up your mind about something, and you have that burning desire, like no one can really stop you. And she saw the fruit of my hard work. So
is she behind you now?
Oh yeah, definitely.
100% right. Of course, they
I always knew you would do it.
Right. They like to see results first.
Yep.
Right. Exactly. When they see the results. But how do you see the results if you won't even give me a chance to try?
To do the work, right?
Yeah. I mean, they mean well. Our parents mean well.
You just don't know any better.
It's so funny because every Haitian kid who like does something outside of what their parents want, they say it is what it is. Like I always hear them say like it is what it is. I mean, they'll be okay.
I know this last time my mom was like, so are you gonna get a job? Are you gonna go back to work? I was like, no, I think it'll work out. Everything will be fine. And she hates when I say stuff like, because I really feel like, okay, things are going to fall into place. But she'd be like, you have no plan. You have nothing. And I'm just like,
I have a plan.
I've made it this far. Right?
Yep.
And now I'm on YouTube. So
mind you, when they say you have no plan and no nothing, I mean, she's completely disregarding the whole functioning business
right.
staff and like the whole production that is happening.
Right. Like that was a plan. But yeah, my plan is that. But no, that's what's up.
So in this segment, we get to ask you questions too. But do you want to tell them before where they can find you?
Yeah. So on Instagram, I am the App Doctor, TheAppDoctor. On Twitter, I am the App Doctor, TheApp, and then Dr. Dr.
Okay.
And then on LinkedIn, I am Henry Saint-Juste. That's it.
Okay. Cool.
And on Google, Spotify, and Apple, helping those who look like me podcast.
Yes.
What's that podcast about?
So it's interviewing minorities or people who look like me, who's been able to break into the tech industry without a college degree. But then also I speak to people who have computer science degrees, as well as recruiters, to give actionable advice on someone who does not have a degree, or someone who wants to break into tech, like what to do, what's the roadmap to get into tech.
Okay. What is your purpose in specifically trying to get those without a degree? Like, why are you pushing without a degree?
Yeah. So software engineering or programming is now a trade skill. And I feel like more of us needs to know that, right? We need to know that. I feel like it says in the Bible, my people perish because of lack of knowledge, right? So within our community, I feel like we don't have a lot of knowledge. We're not well connected to the stars, the NBA players, the Jay-Z's of the world, the LeBrons, right? I want to be that beacon of hope where anybody can reach out to me and I could get on a Zoom call with them. I can text them, right? And give them advice, actionable advice, that's something that they can do that I've done in the past that helped me to get where I am. Because I can't call Jay-Z or LeBron right now and get that valuable information. So I guess that's my purpose, to be close to the community, to give them information so they can break into tech. Just because I read an article and it said when the crash happened, the stock market crash, if a family had $1,000, an extra $1,000 a month, it would help them from foreclosure, from being able to provide for their families. And I feel like breaking into tech, that can, like, you'll have more than extra $1,000 a month to be able to help you.
So does somebody have to love technology, coding, to really sit there and do it?
Not immediate love, but with anything, you grow to love. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying, so are you pushing for people to grow to love it, or you're like, hey, this is a field, we need to get into it, like push people into that field, just like Haitians push nurses into the nursing.
Yeah.
yes and no, right? So like I said, it's all about information. Like when I say break into tech, you're thinking programming. And that's probably because of my fault. But there are different avenues within tech. You can be a product owner. You don't code at all. You're basically in charge of the application. And you tell the developers what you want in the app, right? So you're like, okay, I want the app to do this. I want the user to be able to sign up with Facebook and Google, like everything. And that's what you are. You're the product owner. You own the product. There's a Scrum Master. You can be a manager. Like there are different avenues within tech. You don't really have to be a programmer to break into tech.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. So, what's the learning curve
To be a programmer?
So, like, how easy is it really? Because I think there's been a push, just, in the community, in communities of color, period. There's been a push for us to get into technology. There's like programs that offer like free
like boot camps.
Boot camps and stuff like that. So there's definitely a push to get into technology because it is a field that you can break into without a college degree, right? So you can get up and take 15 weeks of training and then be able to double your income and provide for your family. But what is the learning curve as far as like, because I know for me, right, so before I became familiar with tech and just the industry, I'm thinking like, oh, it's a bunch of math, it's a bunch of numbers, like I can't, like for someone who is a bit more creative, like I consider myself a creative and not really great with like, I prefer to stay away from the
numbers and stuff.
Yeah, I prefer to stay away from that. But so how can someone, outside of graphic design and things like that, who have use their right side of their brain a little bit more, how can what's the learning curve for them to be able to also utilize this opportunity? Okay.
I guess regarding math, you don't really need like algebra at all, like when you're programming, just because the basic functionality, things like that has already been done. you don't really have to interact with a lot of math. The learning curve with anything, I feel like you need to put in a lot of work in the beginning. In order to master something, you need at least 10,000 hours of working experience. And I feel like if you put that in, like if you genuinely put that in, like you're coding every single day, it's going to be a lot of work. The boot camps are really intense. But once you get that aha moment, like everything connects together. Like, so it's not going to be, it won't be like crazy, like a crazy learning curve. It's not.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if I should be a coder because I'm the type of person, like, I will sit there until I figure it out. Like, if there's a bug, it will drive me crazy, and I will sit there until I can go find it and move it. And
so why would that stop you from being?
Because you have to sleep at some point. It goes to my next question, right? Yeah. So this is actually it's actually kind of funny, a little personal. So somebody had told me, oh, I know somebody that might be good for you to date, whatever. And they told me they're an engineer. And my automatic...
You thought he was a nerd.
No. It's not even the nerd thing. Like, because I've had friends who are engineers. I've been, what I realized is that, like, all engineers really do... My response was like, all engineers do is engineer.
No, that's facts.
I'm sorry.
That's all they do. That's all they talk about. That's all they...
I mean, what we just talked about, you do have to be in the realm, in the life. But it's not even just about all they talk about, which I wouldn't mind. I love people who are passionate about what they do. Like, if you're passionate about it, I can listen to you all day if you're passionate. But it's the fact that, like, the jobs that engineers have, I mean, it is not 9 to 5.
Yeah, it's not. It's literally, well, right now with like working from home, it's literally 24/7. Especially, so with me, I work with a team in India. So I'm usually up because by 8 a.m. because I have a call at 8 a.m. And then from 8 to 5, I'm working. And then from 10 p.m. to like 1, I have to be online as well, just because they're just getting their day started.
Okay, so like,
how many hours is
where
that?
do they want you to be like a human and not an engineer?
But it's okay. I love it. Right?
I bet you do. I bet you do. But my question is, how does this impact the people who live with you?
Yeah, so they're always, it's always a work-life balance, and I could do better at managing it. But I feel like at the stage of a life that I am right now, at the point of life that I am right now, there are some things that I can stress on just because there's a bigger goal in the future. And if I could do this in the next 2 to 3 years, like, I won't have to do it anymore in the future. I feel like they understand that.
Okay.
And they're still in a I would say, because we're talking about your kids and stuff, I feel like they're still pretty young, and if that plan does happen, you should be able to, be around when it counts, when they can remember and
remember more.
Yeah, and it's all about interactions. Kids spell love, Time, right? So when I get some time with them, we usually go on walks. We usually go to the park. I make sure the 10, 20, 30 minutes I spend with them, they can remember it throughout the whole day.
Like, it's a valuable time. It's not just, you're not distracted. You're focused.
Yeah.
That's what's
up.
up.
I like to keep my phone away. The only time I have my phone is to take pictures. After that, like, it's just me and them.
Okay, that's good. So speaking of, so you're happily married. How many kids now?
3.
Okay, because I'm trying to keep up. But congratulations, you're done with 3. That's it.
Yep.
Is that what you always wanted?
Signed and sealed, and now it's on video.
Okay. That's what's up. Oh,
it's official.
Y'all all agree? Everybody's on the same first.
Yeah, I think everybody agrees.
Everybody's on the same page.
They're not gonna watch the show like.
Right, exactly. Like, what? No, so okay, that's good. Congratulations. So you are the first. I want to say you're the first parent, like,
on this.
Oh, nice. Yeah, like parent entrepreneur.
Oh, wow.
So
no, second.
Well,
yes, no, first parent entrepreneur. I'm sorry, I was thinking of someone else who was a parent but not an entrepreneur. Sorry.
Okay.
So first parent entrepreneur. So how is that? Like, because I can't imagine. So you're juggling a 9 to 5, being a husband, being a father, being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Being a podcaster.
Yeah.
How?
You're starting a course, right?
Yeah. So I've been recording a course for it's called Intro to Programming and Logic, and the how is I don't really know. It's just it's a lot of work and a lot of like time management, but with anything, there are going to be some opportunities of to grow and to develop, right? So maybe I'm not spending enough time with my wife, or maybe I'm not spending enough time with my son size or my daughter. But like I said, like there's other areas that I have to focus on. And those other areas are going to be handled later in the future. So like, it's not really like 20% here, 10% there. It's 100% of when you can have that time.
Y'all remember that dating and entrepreneurship, that dating and entrepreneurship episode? So, because it's so easy to be the entrepreneur saying like, hey,
Yeah.
don't worry.
Yeah.
10 years, I have a goal.
I have a plan. I have a plan. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and yes, it makes sense as an entrepreneur. It makes sense, but as a human and as a woman and as someone who, you know what I mean, like how I see relationships in my own relationship, I'm like, what you mean? Like,
we're gonna be real raw and revolutionary with you here.
You know, like it's. Of course, we think like when I'm done, I'll have the time for XYZ. But if you're not paying attention now, you don't know what you're gonna be. You don't know what you're gonna see when you look up 10 years from now. You get what I mean? It may not be what it is right now. So there is an opportunity and moments that you're missing out on. Yes, there's a cause. I'm not saying that, you know, of course, like the goal is for your family to be happier. And the way for them to get there is through financial freedom, is what we're all three on this couch. I would say that we're looking for. But I think there is being realistic in the fact that, like, yeah, I see 10 years from now, but my partner or the person who's next to me might be like, okay, well, what about Tuesday? You know what I mean? What about today? You know?
Right. It's like there's a amount of like patience and understanding. Is this something that entrepreneurship, was it something that you knew that you wanted to do before marriage?
Yes. I actually want to be the, I guess I call it the Black Bill Gates.
Oh.
Owning a computer,
I'm sure she's on board for that.
Owning a computer consultant company or programming consultant company where you have, so I don't want to own computers or, you know, iPhones or nothing. I want to have engineers, black engineers from the Black and brown community work in a company where the CEO of the company knows exactly how they feel, because I've been there, right? So that's the goal.
So you want to build a software company or
a software consulting company?
Software consulting. Okay.
So when you like before, I'm just curious to know, like, just because was this a conversation that y'all had before, like marriage? Like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. There's going to be a lot of time. Like, is this something, I'm just for the work-life balance, give us a bone here. Let us know.
Like, yeah, did she know going into it that 10 years from now she would have a fully engaged husband?
Entrepreneur.
Yeah, I guess she already knew, right? Like, because when we were dating, I'm always like a hard worker. So she would know, like, I would come to visit her and then I would like leave and then like it's going to work, or I have some meetings I have to go to. So it wasn't like a spoken thing. It was more like you see my actions, so you know, like coming into this, what I'm gonna continue
what it is.
doing. Yeah.
Okay, so you remain consistent. It's not like it's not like you know,
it's not like I just
switched it up all of a sudden, decided. And because there are a lot of like people, like, you know, within their relationships after having kids and stuff like that, and then they find out that they want to be entrepreneurs, and then they dive in, and so that's like a whole nother dynamic. So okay, that's cool.
That's cool.
Did you have another question? Go ahead.
Yeah. So you being in like technology and being a software developer, I know you spend a lot of time on computers and things like that. How do you feel about do you limit your kids' access to technology, or do you have time slots where because technology is great, but I do think, there are dangers to everything, right? Everything in moderation. But what's technology like for your household? How technologically connected?
Great question.
Yeah.
So for me, I spend a lot of time, like you said, but for them, they also spend a lot of time. And it's probably something that we should work more on, like limiting the time they spend on their iPads. But kids nowadays, they get your phone and they already know exactly how to unlock it.
Isn't that weird? That's so weird. They could be like 2 years old and know how to do it.
Yeah. And I read this article, and it says that the tech CEOs, like the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, they don't let their kids have iPads at all, just because it messes with your attention span. And I feel like that's kind of true, but it's not really the whole truth. Just because when I watch them and I watch what they're watching and how they interact with their iPads, and it looks like it feels like to me that they're getting smarter. Just because my wife had deleted the YouTube app on my son's iPad, and he went to Safari, and he went to YouTube. He found YouTube, and I'm like, how did you do that? Like, how did you manage to do? You can't read yet.
How old is he? What?
He's turning 4 this month.
He can't read yet, and he's still.
But he was doing this like a year ago, like going to Safari and going to YouTube. And I'm like, okay, well. And just around that time, I was gonna start limiting the time. I'm like, nah, let me just leave him. Like maybe this is helping him have that, like that interaction that he needs right now.
And it's like a movement. I think people freak out about like the whole, oh my goodness, technology, it's gonna change so many things, blah blah blah. Yeah, I'm sure people freaked out when we stopped using coal, and when we started, you know what I mean? Like when we started, anything that we change is gonna have a ripple effect on us, and it's just about like, are we gonna go with the wave? Because even if you do have kids that don't have tablets, how is that gonna affect them in school? You know what I mean? When they hand them a tablet and they have to now know how to work it, and they're not going to have books. They're going to stop handing out books. So it's not really something that you can really avoid when society is moving forward with technology.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of tech in our home. Like we have like I'm an Apple head, so everything in the house is like all Apple.
Please talk to me about Apple. Let's talk about Apple real quick.
Okay. What do you want to know?
I want to know why there are like so many like simple things that Apple either does not do. Okay, so an example would be like you can't really record a conversation like while you're on the phone.
Can you do that with Android?
Yes.
Okay.
There's like so much that Android can do that Apple can't, and it just blows my mind that like simple functions. I'm just like, I mean, is Apple really that great, or is just people?
It's awesome. It's the simplicity of the iPhone, right?
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's that simple.
Oh, it's really simple.
I think it is definitely simpler.
She witnesses me struggle on
I do witness you
regular basis.
I really
with
do.
The iPhone.
Wow. Yeah.
I think for me, for iPhone, just the seamless integration of all of my devices does.
Oh, I have a good question. Okay. When you take a picture, it goes to the cloud. If you delete that picture on your phone, it deletes it from the cloud. What is the purpose of the cloud?
That's if you have it synced up that way, right? So it doesn't have to be that way. You can actually change
that setting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. I guess.
Okay.
User error.
Oh, user error. That's probably what it is the whole time.
Is that your tech lingo?
User error.
Yeah, that's it. Like if we're I guess that's it for like everybody, like every engineer. Just because like if we're talking about something and the product owner would come in like, oh, so some users like left a comment or a review, they couldn't use this, user error.
Wow. Okay, I guess. But if it's so simple, I mean,
why are there so many errors? Right?
Exactly.
No, I'm just kidding.
I just don't see.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. I love Apple.
Why a millennial like me who uses technology on a regular basis.
But I think if any company was going to help the government, control us all, it would be Apple.
You think so?
Yeah, but we don't have to divulge.
So you don't think Google would participate? Because they definitely would. Oh, it would be a whole adventure team.
All of them.
Yeah.
If it was the right amount of money.
All of them, yeah.
I think it's a mixture of them.
Definitely.
Yeah, they're all in it.
Yeah.
I did have a question because based off of what you sent us, the survey, you talked about getting different results that we have in order for us to get different results in just society in general. We have to think differently. Mm-hmm. Do you mind just kind of diving in a little bit deeper as far as like what you meant by that?
Yeah. So everything that we have now is due to our past experiences. Mm-hmm. So I feel like to have different results, you have to think different, right? Mm-hmm. So like you just said, when you think different, well, okay, so there's this quote that I read somewhere. It says, when I started looking at, I don't remember the quote now, but all right. So everything we have is due to our past experiences. So when you start to have new experiences, you have different results. So you are the 5 people that you hang around with. Mm-hmm. So if you start having other friends or other people that you interact with on a daily basis, like if your interactions were with let's say like lawyers and doctors, right? When I'm having a conversation with you, it's always going to be centered around like law and doctor in the medical field. But if you start interacting with different individuals like engineers and entrepreneurs, like now the conversation is going to change and your mind is going to change, right? So whatever you focus on, it expands. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's what I meant by that, right? And Apple coined the phrase "think different" as well. So.
Look at Apple man. No.
Apple taught us how to use the phone.
I told you, I am an Apple head.
This is not a sponsored.
This is not sponsored by Apple, but Apple, if you're looking for,
if you want to pay us, let us know.
Right.
Okay, yeah. I really liked. No, I just wanted to just have a conversation on that because I really liked because it was kind of based around like society and just the way that this particular demographic, like people of color, just kind of not being on the bottom end of the economic, climate, and so when you say like, hey, we need to do something different, like so. I like that you're saying like it starts off with your mind and how you think. And I feel like, with everything going on in the Black community, the way that we want or everything that we want, I know we need to achieve it. The way we can achieve it is through economic empowerment. Yep. Right. And I feel like people are asleep when it comes to that. Like they're not aware that, hey, if you want to make changes in this country, you have to have money.
Yeah.
And it starts with recognizing that this is a trade that is not going anywhere. That's literally just going to keep growing because that's the movement. We're moving towards AI. We're moving more towards more technology. So, of course, we're going to need a lot more engineers to back all of that, new technology that we'll be encountering.
Yeah, that's true. And I have a question, Henry, for you. So I know that like your passion is about bringing technology to people of color and things like that. So have you ever thought about just outside of what we can do here, as communities, minority communities with having technology as a skill that our people are learning? Have you thought about like maybe in a country like, Haiti? We're always going to talk about Haiti because, Haitian excellence. So have you thought about how technology could change a country like that?
So I spoke to a buddy of mine regarding courses and stuff, and because he used to like train back in his country, and he said it would be a great idea if I recorded my course in Creole as well. And I feel like that's what I'm gonna start doing now. Once the English version,
your Creole's good like that.
I feel like with the help of my wife and my parents, I can actually read from the paper.
Okay, that's good.
So if there's a script, I can read it. But yeah, creating these courses in Creole as well, so that way those people in Haiti, like they have internet, they have access to YouTube and stuff. So if they find my courses, that's going to be able to help them to have a working knowledge of computer engineering.
And they could, I mean, if they could work remotely, I mean, this is a stretch, but like if they have the Wi-Fi and they are able to code, they could code from over there, right? So they could literally work
anywhere.
Oh my goodness.
And Haitians speak French, they speak Spanish, so they don't have to work for US based countries. They could work Canadian based, any country that speak those. They could, I mean, the options are endless.
Do you remember when we went to Cuba and we went and we had this tour guide. That's what he did on the side. He would do like engineering, and he was working for somewhere here in America. Oh, wow. And I mean, they were lowballing him on the amount of money, but for him, it was really good money. You know what I mean? But that's like, it's crazy because it's like, if you need an app developed or whatever, you need something coded, it's probably, your money overseas, probably goes a lot further, overseas. And not only that, it's like helping out, he was happy about it. He was like, this is the job,
and, and they work super hard. Like their work ethic is crazy.
Oh, is it? So where were we at? You were talking about Haiti, bringing it to Haiti. That you're going to do it in Creole. You pretty much finished her
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, you answered my question. So, yeah, I mean, whenever you're ready on that, let me get started. Let me invest in that because, you and I talk about all the time how we can uplift our people. So don't leave me behind. Henry Burson.
Speaking of uplifting our people, this is another conversation that Junie and I have had, and I've just been waiting for the right person.
Oh, we're gonna get it on camera
to bring it to. So here in this city, right, we have a Haitian community, and we have a Haitian community of entrepreneurs, actually, and so we have talked about how cool it would be to have like. If there was like a nonprofit or just a community that supported the Haitian entrepreneurs and like, you know what I mean? Like gave them advice. If the younger Haitians in this community, if they wanted to ask questions, like I would hope they would have access to people like, like us to ask those questions to and to kind of help them not make the same mistakes we made on our journey of entrepreneurship. What are your thoughts on that?
I like the idea, but I feel like my experience with the Haitian community is when there's too many cooks in the kitchen, things go bad.
Really?
Yeah. But the idea is great because in the Jewish community, the dollar like rotates in the community at least I think it was like 20 times, right? In the Chinese community, it's like 18 times. In the Black community, it's like one time, right? So if we do have like some sort of like I guess mastermind, right? That brings out the best in us. Maybe we can like have a strong community. Because the Somali community as well, they also do what we call susu, right? They have that. But that's how they're able to purchase these corporate places that they have. Just because most of them, they put money together, they $100K, they purchase a building, and now all of them can eat. Within the Haitian community, it's like if I'm eating, that means you're not eating, or you're not eating well, and it's like like in terms of money, right?
No, it's more like if you eating, I need to come over and see what's on your plate so I can steal the food and eat it at home by myself.
We gotta work on that mindset.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's books, right? If they read more books, it's gonna help them experience themselves better, right? It's interpersonalization. So once you know yourself, you can't really compare yourself to anyone else. And then that can help your mindset
to grow.
Yeah. You think that's it? Just books? That's the answer?
Information and action. Yeah.
So you think that you feel like one person could make that happen, but a community of or a group of Haitian people Haitian people, we come together and we've done some pretty dope things, like, you know, take our country back.
Right, like revolt.
I know, but okay, what else have we done, right? Like since
He's like, since then,
as a group, yeah, not much.
You're saying since then, yeah.
Since then, like we haven't really come together to actually do something. So if you think about it, if every Haitian in the world would put like $1 right together, and gave it to an organization to go help Haiti, like things will change. But they're thinking when they give that $1, like that person's just gonna go run away with the money and like do something else. Like it's fear, right? And everything that we want is on the other side of fear. So if we're able to just come together and just do something, like it doesn't have to be like a group of people, like a collective. Just like we just need 5 trustworthy individuals, and then like things will change.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I agree with you, but at the same time, I don't want to just say because. Yeah, it's fear, but to an extent, we have to also think about our history, right? It all goes back to our history, our ancestors, and the traumas that we've experienced. And Haitians, or at least our parents who grew up in Haiti, they've experienced a time where, you know, first of all, Haiti operates on a class system, right? On a classist system. So they've experienced that, you know, when people in Haiti, like the government or like, you know, whatever entity is supposed to be governing something for the public, they get $1 and they keep it for themselves and they eat. So, you know, it's not just like, oh, this individual has this.
But it's crazy because that's not only happening in Haiti.
I know it's not only happening in Haiti, but I'm just saying like all of those things we would have to unlearn. It's not like I woke up I feel like for our generation, there's not as much as that because of, you know, us growing up here mostly, and then just the access to information that we have that we don't have because that they didn't have. You know, so we're able to see things differently. But I definitely agree that we have that crabs in a barrel mentality. But I think what happens is that I think the generation before us had such a desire to leave Haiti, and it wasn't about strengthening the community. It was about getting out so that your family and your kids could have an opportunity to eat. And I think because of that, and because of seeing world and life through that scope, is like, yeah, my family got to eat. And if that means that your family doesn't eat today, I'm sorry, but my family is eating.
Survival.
You know what I mean? We're no longer in that position where we have to live like that. But, you know, I feel like when I compare the Haitian culture to other African cultures and things, a lot of countries in Africa, like they'll send their youth here for schooling, or other countries for schooling, with the idea that you're going to come back and this is going to benefit our community somehow. And I feel like in Haiti, we don't really have an emphasis on that. In our community, we don't have an emphasis on that. Like how many Haitian kids have Haitian parents and don't speak Creole, right? And that's because there's like somewhere along the line, it's like we lost our pride, I feel like. And in losing our pride and in losing, Haitians. Well, where it really counts, I feel like we have pride like in, you know, talking crap and stuff like that, and just being Haitian and loving being Haitian. But in terms of like having pride in our culture as a group of people, as a nation of people, I feel like has kind of dissipated a little bit, and that it plays into all of that. I feel like all of that plays into it. But to speak to Ashley's point, I think if I consider us a different group of Haitian entrepreneurs than like others, right? Who I've known in this community. And I feel like us in this age group, and in this time period, we have more of an advantage because 1, we see like, okay, we don't have to do business that way. You know, 2, we see that there's space for everybody to eat, you know? And so those 2 things, like, I'm not going to feel like I'm competing against you because I already know like you in your lane, I'm in my lane. We're doing 2 different things. I'm not looking at you as like you're trying to take food off my plate. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I agree. I think more of us need to have that mindset, like the older generation as well, because they have valuable information that could help us out. But yeah, like we just have to look at, like, you have at one end of the street you have Walgreens, on the other end you have CVS, but they're still making money. They're still profitable.
Yeah.
If we look at it that way, like you said, like we could achieve greatness.
Right. Yeah. Right. It doesn't take anything away from me.
Just be confident. And you know, somebody was telling me that, like, the problem is like we do look at everybody like competition. You're competing. You're my competitor. You know what I mean? Like, so in the idea of you having a podcast, your podcast is not competing with our podcast. It's just not.
Different content.
Exactly. Completely different content. But like sometimes I think that people can't make that, you
connection.
know, to make the connection that like, listen, what I'm doing, we are just sharing. We can share a market. We are targeting similar people when it comes to maybe, you know, people of color, people who are wanting to be entrepreneurs, people who are just wanting to learn how to grow their finances, things like that. So we share a market maybe, but that doesn't necessarily mean we have to be like competitors and we need to take each other down.
And people are allowed to have different interests. So like, you can watch Ashes and Roses and then watch or listen to, for those who look like me, and then watch, you know, Abba and Free Chai. You know what I mean? So it's like you can have different interests. So just because I have this thing over here, like look at all these makeup brands we have. That didn't stop Rihanna from coming out with a whole new makeup brand. You know what I mean? And she still has prospered from that. She still has a following. Yeah. These people still buy makeup from other places. So
I think it's really like a monopoly.
Fendi, right?
Fenty. Yeah.
Isn't it like $1 billion already?
She doing her thing. I'm so
listen,
proud of her.
Yeah.
Yes, go Riri.
Okay.
But I forgot what I was gonna say. I lost what I was gonna say. But are we ready to rate this topic? Okay, go ahead. So we are rating.
I want to say that we're rating. Let's rate kind of where the as far as like people who look like us. Where are we right now in technology as a whole? Let's rate that. And then I think we didn't do our ashes and cons yet. I mean our ashes and roses. And I think our ashes and roses can be like, what are the ashes, so the cons of the technology industry, and what are the roses of the technology industry?
Okay. So if we were to rate how many people in tech that looks like me, this is hard because I don't want to give it a 1 because it's not a 1. Because every company I've been at, it's usually always me. Everyone else that looks like me are either like janitors or cleaning people that comes in and clean. And they're cleaning these offices. And, you know, I try to be nice to them as well, just because they're seeing another person from a different perspective. But I would probably give it a 4, just because the current company I'm working at now is doing a lot to have black and brown people in tech.
That's good.
So you jump from a 1 to a 4?
Yeah. Wow. Just because I've experienced a different
You've seen
company.
it. Okay. So what are some of the ashes or like the cons in the technology industry?
Long hours. That's a con.
Okay.
That's like an understatement. Just long hours. Long hours is like 10, 12 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. 10, 12 hours. Yeah.
But it's longer than that.
Well, that's when you're like doing entrepreneurship with it as well. That's like 24 hours.
Your work, you said you work 8 to 5?
I work 8 to 5.
And then 10 to 1?
And then 10 to 1. But then in between that, I'm working as well. So
okay, so what's 8 to 5 plus 10 to 1 in a 24-hour day span? How many hours is that?
8 to 5 is like what? Like
9
hours?
Okay, and then
10 to 1 is like another like 3 hours. 3, 4 hours.
He's just like,
you don't need any math to
It's
the
just work.
computers to do. But yeah, it's long hours, right?
okay.
But like, yeah, so regularly, like I'll probably go to bed at like 3, 4 in the morning, and I'm up at 8, right? But that's because I'm working on like multiple different applications. That's not like the normal life. The normal life is actually like, I would say it's like 9 to 6.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a con. You have any other ones or?
Yeah, so this is a big one. You can finish building a product and nobody wants the product. So it's not like when you build it, they'll come. Like that's not true at all in tech. You can build a product and it flops. Nobody wants it. Or you can build a product and a big company purchases it and just shelf it just because they didn't want competition. So that's a con as well. But pro is
a rose.
Rose, yes. Basically, like you get to meet a lot of different people, and you get to experience different solutions to problems. And then salary is really good as well. So that's a big rose, right?
Major rose, right?
Major.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's not really a lot of stress, just because even though you have a manager, it's like you guys are peers. It's not like manager to like employee kind of like relationship. Yeah, and then you get to learn a lot of skill sets, and they invest in you a lot. Like I've never been in the industry where they invest in you so much. Like they pay for your conferences, they pay for like schooling as well. They can pay for that. If you purchase a course, they'll pay for it. Like it's
wow.
They pay for it, like because you're bettering the company themselves as well. So they invest in you.
Okay, that's good.
That's what's up.
I didn't know about that.
Right.
And a big rose is you can break into tech without a college degree.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Yep,
Man,
that's cool.
skip that college debt. Skip it.
Right. We all know how Ashley feels about student loans.
Right. Skip it. Right. Oh, okay. I almost got into politics, but I don't want to do that. So, okay, so I'm going to share what my ashes are. So my ashes is the long hours too, because I just feel bad for, you know. The other ash is that my sister, she, computer science is like her realm and her world. And I remember when she was first breaking into it through school, one of her biggest challenges was just the fact that like the boys or the men weren't really taking the women in the class seriously.
Okay.
So like in group projects, you know, her ideas and stuff like that weren't being taken seriously, or they weren't considering it, or, you know, she would.
How recent is this? Like,
I mean, maybe like a couple years ago.
Because I graduated in 2011 and I went straight to school, and I did not see any women
in your class.
No,
well, there you go. So I mean, to me, that's like, you know, that's ash. That's an ash to me. I don't, because I do feel like there are women who like to code, but it's like if you're being put into environments where it's not very conducive for women, you know what I mean? Like I would hate to be that one girl in the class and then people don't think that you're smart enough or whatever just because you're a woman, which I don't get that.
Yeah. And the thing is, this is I don't know if you guys know this, gals know this, but back when the Industrial Revolution, right? So when all the men were going out into war, women were actually the coders because they were intercepting coded messages from during the war from the enemy, and like translating it. Like the first engineers were women.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Wow,
good to know.
Okay, you heard it here first.
The roses, I will say the roses are that you're right. Technology, like you can really go into any realm. As a nurse, I could literally tap into technology from the nurse's perspective because they are hiring like nurse coders now for just for the EMRs, the electronic medical records.
Okay.
So they use nurses to code and kind of help structure some of those records.
There's a whole field like biomedical engineering.
Biomedical. What I'm talking about is they call it nursing informatics.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's really cool. I like the fact that, it's cool because nursing is very versatile as well. So I just thought it was cool that there's a place where they intersect. So that's a rose for me. And then the other rose is that that it is a trade that if I wanted to tap into, you know, I could do from home.
Yeah.
Like, and because I actually did start taking a class a while back. I started it and then I kind of forgot how much patience it takes to
learn something new.
To learn, not only learn something new, but to learn something like coding.
Yeah.
And like, you know.
I mean, not just that. I tried
You said it's not that hard?
But he's Dexter, so.
Right.
Yeah, I tried to learn, I started learning UI and UX. But then I was just like, I just don't have time right now to learn. First of all, Adobe products.
It definitely requires
a
lot
whole
of practice.
Different learning. Like that's a whole different ball game when you're trying to learn Adobe.
That's why I don't mess with Adobe. I mess with Sketch. It's great when it comes to like UI UX design.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I've learned something new.
We've learned a lot of new things.
To yourself. So it's my turn for the Ashes and Roses.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to speak to what you said about, you know, women being in tech and stuff like that. So it's I think it's like an ash and a rose for me. So I worked in a nonprofit organization that pushed bringing STEM and technology to communities that otherwise wouldn't have access to it. And there is a big push to get girls in technology. And what I can say that I've seen is that in the generations coming up, so like high school and middle schoolers, girls are interested. Okay. They're a lot more interested, and they're a lot more, you know, they're on it. And there are agencies and organizations like for women specifically trying to get in tech, like Girls Who Code. There's like the Women's Tech Initiative. Like there's so many avenues now because it was so heavily saturated with men. You know, women just didn't even know how to even
make their way in.
But there are a lot of organizations that are assisting women in breaking through and you know, getting into technology. So that ash was, you know, the women wasn't they weren't in tech, but I think it is a rose that there are agencies and things coming up that are specifically for women of color, specifically who are trying to get into tech. Because even when you go to, you know, these big organizations, like they have women in tech, and those women are usually white, you know? So I think, so yeah, there's that. I think another ash for me is, I think technology is great. However, I do feel that just me, the type of person that I am, I feel like, you know, everything is just so techie. And it's just like,
look at
I do miss like some
user error.
Yeah, user error. No, I definitely appreciate the convenience that technology brings to me. But sometimes, you know, I just want the just regular life. Like I don't want to have to feel like I'm missing out just because I'm not partaking in technology. So I would consider that an ash. I think a rose is, yeah, people are out here getting rich. I think that's a rose. I think anytime somebody can, you know, change their life financially and change the life of their families and just really just change the trajectory of your whole family line, I mean, like that's what's up. So
it only takes a course. It just takes a course. Like people, there are really no excuses. Like seriously, like go to your library, save up your money, get you a boot camp, and next thing you know, you're making at least $20 an hour.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go to boot camp route though.
You wouldn't? Why not? Tell me why.
So just because you may go the boot camp route and you pay like what $12,000-$13,000.
Whoa.
And then you figure out you don't like this whole industry. It's better to stay on YouTube, stay on Udemy, learn it on your own, right? And if you feel compelled, like you love this industry, like you want to have a career in this, then
take a boot camp. I didn't realize the boot camps were that much money.
They're expensive, girl. Because it's like
that's like a tuition.
It's really short amount of time. So they have boot camps for like 3 months, 6 months, different, like 15 weeks.
The course that I'm taking is on Udemy.
Yeah. So they cram you with all of this information in such a short amount of time, and they charge you so much for it. And I have a friend, like we should actually have her on the show, but I have a friend, and she kind of worked her way up with a major banking company, and she told me how like her mentor, she was talking to them about, you know, going and finding a course or like a boot camp or something like that, and he was just like, you know, people throw away their money when you're paying to learn technology because everything is on the internet. Like you could literally learn everything, anything. So it's like a waste of, it's people ripping you off. And I think it comes down to the education, right? The knowledge. I don't think our people understand, like, yo, you can hop on Google and really change your career.
Yeah, searching Google is a skill. Google has a lot of information. But I was going to go back to, so like people take it for granted how the internet is at our disposal to find any information we need. Back when I was learning, like I said, like I had to go to the library and buy books and purchase books and rent books. And to learn how to program a game. Now I can go on YouTube and I can do it in 30 minutes.
I know.
Well, yeah, everything's on YouTube. I saw a video pop up on YouTube the other day. I was like, everything is on. You could learn anything on YouTube. I'm just gonna leave it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The kids now, they're so lucky.
Yep.
Man,
Are they?
the amount of work, well, they're, as far as getting information, the amount of work that we used to have to do to get information, I think, you know, it's nowhere near. I remember we used to use encyclopedias, for goodness sakes.
Almanacs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we used to have to do, and now they could just Google it. So any of their projects,
Right.
their projects
but
are
guess
looking
what?
great.
We know how to use an encyclopedia, so we have to. Because listen, when this all comes
I don't know if I
crashing
remember
down,
how to use an encyclopedia.
I know how to use Spark Notes.
Oh yeah, me too. I remember Spark Notes.
you still need the internet to use Spark Notes, right?
Lazy
Wow.
students. What are you using Spark Notes for?
I was using the encyclopedia. I only
like
use Spark
book
Notes
summaries,
if I
right?
didn't read the book.
For
if
not
I didn't
reading the
read the book,
book.
yeah, I would
Absolutely.
jump on Spark Notes.
That's the only reason.
Now I love reading. Like back then, like when it was like homework, didn't like to read, but now I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I think it's the books that they made us read back then. I don't think we could connect to them the way we do as an adult. You know what I mean? So like when I was reading, you know, To Kill a Mockingbird, I feel like that's a book that everybody had to read in high school, right? When I read it at the time, it just didn't impact me the way that it would impact me now.
I read it on my own. I never had to read it in school, but everybody was reading it, so I'm like, I'm gonna read it too.
Yeah, I didn't read it at school.
Yeah, me neither.
You read it on your own?
I read it with my brother. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool. No, I read it because I had to, guys.
Wow.
And it's funny because the school that I went to at the time, all white school. And I'm like, how did we discuss this? Because I don't remember discussing it.
Right.
No,
This brings me to a great point. I'm sorry if I'm taking too long.
no, you're good. You're good.
So the community that we lived in, we live in now. So we live in like Lewis Center, and it's like right when you like. So it's very unique, right? So
you live where they got money.
So the
I'll edit that out.
so the county is Delaware County. The city is Lewis Center, but then we're surrounded by Dublin and Powell, right? And the school is Olentangy. And everyone who lives around us are either doctors or engineers, right? So their kids are interacting with doctors and engineers. But when you drive 30 minutes into the city, you don't have that same concept, right? In our community, just because. So like it's really different. Right? So you have one group of people, of kids who are interacting with doctors and lawyers. So what do you think they're going to be when they grow up?
Doctors and lawyers.
Yeah, and then you have another group. And then I was at the library the other day, registering to vote. Everybody registered to vote.
Do that.
I was at the library.
Sorry about your choices.
I was at the library registering to vote, and I saw that they had tutoring sessions for kids who go to the school free of charge. We don't have that in our community. In the community I grew up in, like I'd have to stay after school.
Yeah.
And even if I stayed after school, teachers may not have been there, you know, like, because there's problems, you know, like they have to go do stuff and there's not enough attention for us. But over there, like they're just giving it out for free. So
It's sad. It's just crazy. It's like they
do it on purpose.
And that's how it keeps.
Conversation.
Yeah, and that's how we keep our these different social statuses or classes. That's how you keep.
That's how you keep black
That's
people
a really
at the
good
bottom.
way. If it was no, but seriously though, like let's be real. Like you're an engineer, okay? So you see the problem.
Yeah.
You see what the problem is. All you guys do is solve problems all day. So there's a group of people who solve problems all day. So you know where there's a hole in this system, but nobody wants to really do what they need to do to truly fix it. And it starts there, like with education. Come on, like you said, if these kids are growing up in an environment where they're seeing lawyers and doctors all day, those are who they're interacting with. Of course, that's who they're going to become. Now, if you're in another city, in another place where it's a city where you have gang members, come on, of course, that's what that environment is gonna produce.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Andrew Yang said something. I was listening to him on a podcast, and they said, why isn't, like, the problems we have in society, why are they not being taken care of, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we have solutions, like we have clear solutions for them.
Mm-hmm.
And he said there's more money to be made when you are trying to fix a problem and not fixing the problem. So I guess that
absolutely.
Wait, there's more money to be made trying to fix the problem
and not actually fixing it. Yeah,
and
so
not actually fixing it. Oh, so like pretending to fix the problem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wow. You know, Andrew Yang is my guy, right?
Yeah.
That's who I'm voting for. Yang Gang. He's like, you're still voting? I'm still writing that man's name down.
If anybody asks.
That's so crazy though. Cause, and you know, when we are, I mean, I don't want to bring this to politics, but like when you have these two options that we have, it's like, and then you had an option like Andrew Yang. Are we really trying to solve problems? Because if we were, he was literally the only person on the stage that was like, here's a solution, here's a solution, here's a solution. Yep. What do you think about Trump? Well, here's the solution. Yep. You know what I mean? That's how he was. And so if we wanted solutions as a people, if that's really what we wanted, then that's he would be an option.
I agree.
Okay, so to end, we're going to do our quote of the day. I will start with mine. And then we'll have you share yours. You said you did have one, right? Yeah. Okay. And then Junie will end us off like she usually does.
Yes.
So here's my quote. You kind of almost hinted at it earlier. So I was like, oh. And when you brought up, I think you said it was in a verse that you brought up. But it says, knowledge is like money. To be of value, it must circulate. And in circulating, it can increase in quantity and hopefully in value. Do I need to say that again? Did you guys get that?
Say it again for me.
Okay. Knowledge is like money. To be of value, it must first circulate. And in circulating, it can increase in quantity and hopefully in value. So I felt like that was something that you were really pushing for as far as like just sharing your knowledge. So as far as your goals let me say who said it. Louis L'Amour is who said the quote. And so as far as you like sharing with the Black community, people of color, people who look like you, sharing your knowledge, it's accumulating just like money would. And hopefully it leads to value. Hopefully it leads to Black people having more economic power and therefore having power in general in this country.
Yeah.
That's my quote.
Yeah. All right.
What's yours?
So my quote is from Henry Ford. It's not as long as yours.
This wasn't that long.
Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're usually right.
Nice. Yeah. I like that.
Okay. He said, I'm coming. That. First of all, I think you've dropped like 3 to 4 quotes this episode.
Throughout this, yeah.
Yeah, but that's him like on a regular basis. One time, who's that guy you were telling me about? Like, don't be like that guy who missed out on
Rob.
Apple.
Yeah, Rob.
Apple, don't be like Rob. But yeah, thank you for coming and having this conversation.
Wait, before you say your quote.
Oh, yes.
What kind of entrepreneur are you?
I actually saw it in the email when I was the archetypes, right? For the entrepreneurs. I forget what they are.
So there's a jack of all trades, innovator, world changer, entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, and there's one last one I can remember.
Yeah. I don't think I am jack of all trades just because I like delegation. If I can't do something, I won't force myself. I'll just have somebody else do it for me.
Opportunist is the last one.
World changer. I feel like that's who that's what I resonate with. Another one that you said.
Innovator,
yeah. So 2, yeah. World changer and
innovator. Awesome. Okay, I can see that.
Yep, we're gonna change the world.
I could see you as an opportunist too.
Yeah, me too. Come on,
when the opportunity arises,
yeah.
You see, right? You're an app developer, so if you see an opportunity, you're like,
jump in there
on that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but like I said, thank you for joining us for this conversation. I think it's important, especially during these times and technology is really taking over. This is the 2020 that they used to talk about in school, you know. So yeah, thank you. As we go off and you guys and your Wednesday or your hump day, whatever day it is. This quote that I want to leave you with is from Booker T. Washington.
Okay.
And it says, "A race, like an individual, lifts itself up by lifting others up."
Nice.
Right? So that's what we do here at Ashes and Roses. Like, my personal journey, my personal conviction is for everyone who looks like me to be able to make more money, and in making more money, have a little bit more freedom in this country. So y'all lift us up, we lift y'all up.
Yep. Get that bag.
Yep. Get that money. That's your money.
Yep.
Right.
So you can live in Lewis Center. Alrighty, guys. We'll see you next time. Thank you
For listening. Thanks for
Bye.
listening. See you guys later.